The number in the account is $84,000, and you have not looked at it in 9 months. Not because you forgot. Not because you lost the password or changed banks. Or moved. Though you did move. Twice, in fact, in the years since you opened it. You have not looked because looking was never the point. The account is not a thing you watch. It is a thing you keep. You set it up on a Wednesday in October, 11 years ago. The opening deposit was $4,000. You were 29. You wrote a single sentence in your notebook that evening, and you have not needed to rewrite it since. The principle is not to be touched. That was the vow. Not a strategy, not an allocation. A vow. You are 29. You earn $58,000 a year, which is more than you were. Raised to expect, and less than you had hoped by now. You have $4,000 that is not spoken for. It came from a bonus you did not celebrate because celebrating felt premature. You are not sure what you are waiting for. You have been waiting a long time. You have watched other people invest. You have watched them check their portfolios the way some people check the weather, compulsively, uselessly, several times before noon. You have watched them sell at the wrong time, not because they were stupid, but because the watching made them feel things, and the feelings made them move, and the movement undid the waiting that had already been done. You do not want to feel things about money. You want money to become a quiet fact in the background of your life, the way the furnace is a quiet fact. You trust it. You do not monitor it. And in winter, you are warm. The rule, the first one, is this. Capital preserved is capital compounding. You will not believe this yet. That is fine. There is something that happens in the body when you make a decision you know you will keep. It is quieter than the decisions you are less sure of. The uncertain ones arrive with noise, justification, counterargument, the urge to explain yourself to someone. The kept decisions arrive clean. You do not need to explain them. They are already finished. You open the account. You deposit the $4,000. You write the sentence in the notebook. You close the laptop. You do not set a calendar reminder. You do not tell anyone. You go to bed, and the account begins its work without you. There are people who will tell you that the principle rule is a beginner's constraint, that once you understand the market, you learn when to deploy capital, when to rebalance, when to pull back and replant. They are not wrong exactly. They are describing a different practice. A faster practice. A practice that requires you to be right, repeatedly, over decades. A practice where each decision compounds not just financially, but cognitively, each one demanding the next, and the next, and the next. The principal rule asks something simpler. It asks one decision, made once, held indefinitely. You are not optimizing. You are preserving the structure that allows growth to happen on its own terms, without your interference. The rule, the second one, is this. Intervention is not stewardship. There is a difference between watching over something and watching it. A gardener who digs up seeds to check their progress does not have a garden. She has a project. Projects end. Gardens do not, if you leave them. You leave it. Consider what you are actually doing when you choose not to move capital. You are not being passive. Passivity would be forgetting the account existed. What you are doing is active refusal. The recurring decision, made quietly, to look at the wanting and say, not yet, Not this. Not from here. That refusal takes energy. It takes more energy in some years than others. It is not the absence of will. It is its sustained presence. The fastest investors in any room will tell you this. Is leaving money on the table? Perhaps it is. But the table they are gesturing at is not the one you are sitting at. You are at a different table. Longer, quieter, and you are learning to be comfortable at it. Each age anchored by a small domestic detail. You are 31. A colleague tells you she liquidated her index funds to cover a kitchen renovation. The renovation is beautiful. The countertops are white stone. She photographs them for 3 weeks. The account that funded them no longer exists. She does not think about this. You think about it more than she does. Your account is at $6,200. You did not add to it this year. The market moved. You did not move with it. You did not move at all. This is the year you learn that inaction feels like failure, even when it is not. You will spend several evenings in that year checking the number. Not because anything has changed, but because you need confirmation that something is still there. This is normal. This is the early years, the base of the curve, before the curve has shown itself. The number is small. The patience required to hold it feels outsized. You hold it anyway, because you said you would, and because you wrote the sentence, and because breaking a vow in the second year teaches you that vows are breakable. And that lesson is more expensive than any kitchen renovation. You are 33. Your mother is ill, briefly, then well. But the 2 weeks inside that sentence cost you. Not financially. You already knew she would ask if you had money to lend, and you already knew you would say yes. And you already knew the account would be the thing you did not name when she asked. She asks. You say yes. You do not touch the principal. You move money from other places, slower money, less purposeful money, and you cover what needs covering, and the account sits at $7,400, unmoved. You are learning, without anyone teaching you, that the vow functions like a wall. Not a wall that keeps things out. A wall that tells you where the door is, so you stop looking for one. You are 35. You move in with someone. The finances become a conversation, which becomes a negotiation, which becomes eventually a kind of peace. He knows about the account. You told him after 6 months. In the way you tell someone something important, not as a confession, but as a fact. He asks how much. You tell him. He says, "Is that a lot?" You say, "It will be." He does not understand the vow. He understands numbers. He does not understand the space between the number and the decision not to move it. This is not a criticism of him. It is a description of a thing that takes time to see. The account is at $11,000. The market has been generous in years you were not watching. This is the part no one explains. The market does not care whether you are watching. It moves without your attention. Your attention was never what it wanted. You are 38. The relationship ended the previous spring. Quietly, as most things that took years to build tend to end. Not in an event, but in a slow exhale over many months that finally empties. You are not devastated. You are tired. And then you are rested. And then you are yourself again, in a smaller apartment that costs less than the previous one. The temptation in that year is enormous. $24,000 is in the account. You could rent somewhere larger. You could take a trip. You could do the kitchen renovation your colleague photographed 3 years ago, which you still sometimes think about more than she does. You do not. Not because you have no desire for those things, but because you remember the vow. And the vow is the point of the vow. It holds precisely when holding is hardest. A rule that only applies in easy years is not a rule. It is a preference. The rule, the third one, is this. The vow is tested at the edge of want, not the edge of need. You do not take the trip. You make the smaller apartment beautiful in the way that costs nothing. A good lamp, a plant, a Sunday morning with no plans. You are 38. The account is at $24,000. You are 41. You earn $91,000 now. You have added to the account several times over the years. 10. Not systematically, not on a schedule, but when the money was clean and spare and ready. The principal, as you think of it, has grown not just from returns, but from small additions made quietly, without ceremony. Each addition felt like a confirmation, not of your wealth, of your word. The account is at $52,000. The compound growth is visible now in a way it was not at $6,000 or $11,000 or even $24,000. The curve has begun its bend. You understand now why the early years felt like nothing. They were the base of the curve, not the curve itself. The growth happens later, faster, in the years that feel like reward for years that felt like patience. You are in the reward years. You did not know you were earning them. You are 43. The account is at $67,000. You have not checked it since spring. You open the notebook to a page near the back, which is still blank, and you write a second sentence underneath the first. The first sentence says, "The principal is not to be touched." The second sentence says, "This is still true." You close the notebook. You close the account tab on your screen. You go to the kitchen, which is small and clean, and yours, and you put the kettle on. Outside it is getting dark. The lamp is on. You have kept this vow for 14 years, and it has kept you in ways you are only beginning to understand. The account is at $84,000 now. You are 44. 15 years have passed since October. The Wednesday, the $4,000, the sentence. People sometimes ask what it takes. They mean, what strategy, what platform, what allocation percentage, what index. These are answerable questions. They are not the question. What it took was the vow. The willingness to hold a line not because it was comfortable, it was often not comfortable, but because you had already decided once, and the decision did not need to be made again. That is the quiet gift of a vow. It removes 1,000 future decisions. It gives you that energy back for other things. I made the first deposit at 29, the same month I stopped apologizing for things I had earned. I do not think this was a coincidence. The vow about money was adjacent to a larger vow, something about not undoing what had been built, about letting accumulation stand rather than redistributing it to ease the discomfort of having it. I have seen this. The women who keep principle keep it not because they are disciplined in some abstract sense. They are not more disciplined than anyone. They are simply more committed to a single decision than they are to all the alternatives that will suggest themselves later. I am one of them. I did not know I was becoming one for the first years. I only knew that the account existed, that the sentence was written, and that it was not time to look yet. What it cost was not money. It cost the kitchen renovation. It cost the trip after the breakup. It cost several moments when having less accessible cash made the world feel more precarious than it probably was. It cost some years the feeling of normalcy that other people had. The ease of spending freely, of not carrying the account as a quiet weight in the back of every financial decision. These are real costs. Do not let anyone tell you they are not. But the account is at $84,000. And the account is not the point. The point is what the account taught you. That you could want something, really want it, feel the want in your chest, and not act on it, and survive the not acting, and be changed by the survival. That is not a financial lesson. That is a character lesson. It cost money to learn it. It was not paid in money. There is a woman, older than you, now, who started a conversation once at a dinner neither of you had been looking forward to. She was 62. She had kept principal for 30 years. She did not use that word. She said, "I have one account I do not touch, and I never think about it, and I am never afraid." She was right. The rule, the last one, is this. The account you do not touch is the account that does not ask anything of you. Every other account will ask. It will ask to be checked and tended and redistributed and harvested. It will ask you to be clever and patient and informed and steady. These are not bad things to be. But the account you never touch asks nothing. It simply holds. And in the holding, it becomes a different kind of asset. Not a financial position, but a proof. Proof that you made a decision and kept it. Proof that you can do that. This is not a small proof. In a life full of intentions that softened, goals that shifted, plans that were quietly revised to accommodate the next season, the account is the one thing that stayed as written. You changed. The account did not. It held what you put in it, and added to it silently, and asked nothing of you except that you keep your word. There is nothing in any market that pays a return on that. It is paid in something else. In the feeling when you do check, once a year, once in 9 months, whenever you finally remember, that the number is larger than it was, and you did not cause it, and you did not stop it. And it has been working this whole time while you were living your life. That is the vow. That is the return. Not the number, the knowledge that you held. The number in the account is $84,000, and you have not looked at it in 9 months. You will look again, perhaps in 3 months, perhaps in 6. The number will be different. It will be larger, most likely, in the same slow way it has always been larger. Without drama, without announcement, without requiring your attention. You will close the tab. You will write the date in your notebook. You will confirm once more that the sentence is still true. The principle is not to be touched. 15 years, 1 sentence, 1 account kept quietly in the background of a life that also contained moves and relationships and grief and work and kitchens you did not renovate and trips you did not take and mornings when the want was real and you held the line anyway. A life that was not diminished by the holding. A life that became in some ways more itself because of it. The account does not know any of that. It only knows the number, and the number keeps moving, and you have learned to trust what moves without you. She was right. The woman at dinner, 30 years in, never afraid. You are beginning to understand why. If this found you at the right time, you know what to do.